Hello everyone. Today I'm going to explain the properties of aggregate access demand functions. And before that we have to know about the general equilibrium in competitive market. In a competitive market system, general equilibrium is analyzed by exploring how prices lead to equilibrium allocation. In barter economy, we did not require any price for equilibrium to arise. Now we explore an economy where prices are allowed to emerge. An order of analysis is consumer preferences, access demand function, and Walrasian equilibrium analysis. And we know aggregate excess demand generates the notion of excess demand from a single market to an entire economy. Considering all goods and all agents, aggregate excess demand refers to the net demand for goods across an entire economy. It is formally defined as the sum of individual demand minus the sum of initial endowment. That shows the differences actually. And the aggregate excess demand tells us across all goods whether total desired demand exceeds or falls short of available supply, endowments, and production. And excess demand in a market yells that say zk of p is greater than 0, the aggregate demand for good k exceeds the aggregate endowment, and excess supply for good k yields that zk of p, which is less than 0, and the aggregate demand for good k is less than the total quantity available in the market, which pressure downward on prices of good k. And in an equilibrium condition, in Walrasian equilibrium, Zk of P is equal to 0, where demand is equal to supply actually, and the market for good K is clear and no pressure on the prices to change. And now come to my topic, properties of aggregate access demand. First of all, we analyze Walras Law, which states that the value of aggregate access demand Zk of P is equal to 0 for any given price vector P, since I belongs to an entire economy. Every consumer spends all of their income, which is fundamental assumption. That means the value of what each consumer purchases must equal the value of their initial endowment. And in individual case, the relationship for a single consumer can be written as the consumer budget balance. In this equation, we show the summation, or we first of all summed over the price vector and Walrasian demand for good K, and which is equals to the price vector, which is multiplied then endowment vector of good K and their summation. And Walrasian demand for good K, which is this portion x of K in individuals I, P price vector, and P multiplied by endowment of individual I is continuous in the price vector of P. By rearranging this equation, we can see that the value of an individual access demand is equal to 0 here. That yields that price vector or price of good K and the Walrasian demand for good K minus endowment vector for good K is equals to 0. Summing over all individuals in the economy I, it shows that the total value of the aggregate access demand is also 0. And after rewriting this above expression of to show the core Walras law, here is the equations which yields that summation of k up to L and price vector and the Walras law jk of p yields is equal to 0 here. Hence it's proved here also. And then in the two good case, in a two good economy, Walras law implies that if there is excess demand for good 1, there must be excess supply of good 2. That means If L minus 1 markets are in equilibrium, the last market L must be also in equilibrium. So two good economy yields Z1 of P is equals to 0, then the other market denoted as Z2 of P is equals to also is equals to 0. Then the second property, which is called continuity. Aggregate excess demand function Z of P is continuous at price vector P and Z of P is equal to 0 states Walrasian demand is continuous in prices, no sudden jumps. Small prices changes leads to only small predicted change in demand. And homogeneity degree zero, it is the third and last property of aggregate excess demand function, which property states that the excess demand Z of P is homogeneous of degree zero in prices. If all prices are scaled by a positive number, say lambda, the excess demand remains unchanged. Homogeneity of degree zero means only relative prices matter here, nothing else. The economy is unchanged if all prices are doubled or half. What affects the decision is the prices of one good relative to another. So that's all about my topic. Thank you everyone and Assalamu alaikum.